Taste the Mediterranean through March 19th at Whole Foods Market. Save on animal welfare certified bone-in beef short ribs, sustainable wild-caught sockeye salmon, and more. Find sales on Parmigiano Reggiano, charcuterie and ground lamb. Grab an olive boule bread from the bakery. Plus, wines from the Mediterranean start at just $8.99. Taste the Mediterranean now at Whole Foods Market. Must be 21 plus. Please drink responsibly.
Good morning on this windy Friday. Is your neighbor's trampoline in your backyard? That just means it's springtime. Today on CityCast Las Vegas, I'm here with co-host David Figler and executive producer Sonia Cho Swanson, and we're talking about the safety investigation into the Tesla tunnels, Henderson's crackdown on unsafe drivers, and a celebration of the classic Peppermill restaurant. It's Friday, March 1st. I'm Sarah Lohman, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Hey, good morning, y'all.
Good morning, good morning.
Morning, guys.
I didn't even mention up top the biggest news out there, but did you know that we started a membership program?
I've heard.
God,
yes.
I actually appreciate the sarcasm because honestly, if y'all out there haven't heard by now, I don't know what rock you're under. But we want to just talk a little bit more about why this is so meaningful to us.
Let me jump in and just say, do y'all know what episode number this is today?
I mean, I'm still a comparative youth in the whole system here. So we've got the Vogue years as well.
That's true. That's true.
So I don't know.
This is episode number 448. We've made 448 episodes, y'all.
What have I done with my life?
448 episodes.
Yeah, no, that's what I've done with my life. It's great.
Exactly. And you know what? Every single one of these episodes has been free. And we do this because we love Las Vegas and we love our audience. And so if you've been listening, especially for those of you who've been listening to every single 448 of these dang episodes,
you're out there.
You're out there. I know the super fans are out there. We have even more newsletters than that. Man, we just can't thank you enough for sticking along for the ride. And I know a lot of you have been asking how you can support our work. And now, actually, this is your chance.
Yeah, it's funny how many people have been coming up, and they're going to remain to be free. The membership program is just like a little bit of extra. And I'm going to tell you this. This is true story. I'm out at dinner last night. And not one, not two, but three different people came up and they're like, I'm members. And they were so proud of it.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's so affirming because especially when people sign up for the membership, I don't even think they care about the perks, which there are perks to getting membership.
There's going to be an
with
ad-free.
CityCast Las Vegas. They just want to tell us.
They want to tell you, David Figler, you're one of our most treasured local celebrities. This is what I've learned from hanging out with you, IRL.
But it's so much fun to actually hear that immediate feedback, and not just the immediate feedback, I am part of your club now, sir. you know, it's it's so awesome. And then one thing that I'm absolutely loving about all these members that are coming on is that there's a little space to say why you wanted to be a member of CityCast Las Vegas. Oh my God, guys, have you been reading them? Because my heart has grown 3 sizes. It's so
From
affirming.
The tiny Grinch size to
it was a little Grinchy, but now I'm all about
size.
the love.
Yeah.
I'm going to be less snarky. There's so much love in Las Vegas, and I'm getting to bathe in it. But no, seriously, the comments have been so thoughtful. They're so in tune with what we've been doing with the newsletter, what we do on the podcast. They love our interactions, Sarah, when we get to play together on the podcast. It's just a really lovely thing to hear, and I'm glad that membership is the way that people can express that.
Yeah, and a lot of them have just been saying that, I'm supporting this because I love Vegas. I'm committed to Vegas. I've been to Vegas all my life. We just got one this morning from someone who lives in Florida, but they're like, Vegas is still my number one hometown love, and so I'm going to support it. Aww. And you all know I moved here a couple years ago, August 2021, but honestly, one of the first things that was sent to me is my bestie, Kim, sent me the Hey Las Vegas newsletter, which at that time wasn't even called Hey Las Vegas. This was even before the rebrand.
Wow.
And so I just had gotten to the habit of I would wake up in the morning, opened up the newsletter and would read it, not only to see what was happening in town, but especially to get in tune with what events were coming up, because I wanted to get out there and enjoy my city. And then also all the roundups would really be helpful. Like, David, I will never forget your coffee shop roundup. How many coffees did you actually drink that morning as you looped around downtown?
That was 5. That was a 5 coffee.
You drank 5 coffees?
Yeah.
And
was
so I was
really
able
jittery.
to take even one of those coffees, every one of those coffee shops, and like load it into my map to give them a whirl. And so it just helped give me a roadmap to the city. And, now I loved it so much. Here I am hosting the darn thing.
Hey.
One of my favorite episodes is when we talked about places that went away in Las Vegas and what we have to replace them now. And I got to just fondly remember all those places that I used to go to, like especially restaurants. There was this restaurant called Rosemary's that was like my jam, and I loved it so much, and it's just not there anymore. And, it's just one of those things in Las Vegas, you get used to it. But I think the challenge is to just support what is here when it is here as best you can. And I think that's what this membership program is all about.
Hey, a lot of news outlets are folding. So, finding alternative ways to keep businesses going is really important. So
Hear, hear.
where can they go, Sonia, if they want to become a member?
They can go to membership.citycast.fm, and our memberships start at just $8 a month.
Yeah. And you know what? We're just really excited to start bringing you into the community. You're going to see some bonus content that will prove to you that we really like each other and we actually do hang out. And we're looking forward to doing live events in the future, too, and hope to have you be a big part of that. So that's our personal news. But let's talk about the city. So, Sonia, I hear you've got some Tesla tea. Spill me that piping hot Tesla tea. What's going on?
Well, it is piping hot Tesla sludge, y'all.
Ew.
So a few days ago, earlier this week, Bloomberg broke an incredible story. I want to shout out to journalists Max Chafkin and Sarah McBride, that there has been a state OSHA, which is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration investigation. And that investigation was launched last summer. There was an anonymous tipster about some safety concerns at the Boring Company's construction sites in Las Vegas, which, as you know, currently the Boring Co. has those Tesla tunnels along the convention center, but they've been expanding to the Encore and the Westgate. That expansion started over spring and summer last year. So workers say that they faced tremendous pressure to speed things along. Tunneling was going on for 24 hours a day. Workers said that they had 12-hour shifts. On top of that, they were forced to spend entire 12-hour shifts underground, take their lunch breaks underground.
Oh, F that.
Ask for permission to go to the bathroom, that the temperatures in the tunnels could get over 100 degrees Fahrenheit in the tunnels. Are you kidding me?
What is this, like an 1880s coal mine?
Right.
Like, what is happening? Are the photos in the Cornish Pasty Company actually of Tesla tunnel workers, not
right.
Cornish mine workers?
The grime-covered, helmeted...
Waifs?
Right. Waifs in the tunnels. Well, maybe. Actually, some of the workers said that they jokingly called the construction sites the plantation. That's brutal.
God.
Yes, I kid you not.
But
all right.
wait, I mean, all this is crazy, but get back to the
worse.
sludge, please.
Yeah. Oh, it gets worse. Okay, so here's where it gets actually incredibly unhealthy. There is a toxic mud sludge that was workers would have to wade through. It was up to 2 feet deep in places. And some of it contained something called accelerants, which is a chemical you use to kind of accelerate the drying of grout on the walls of these tunnels. And the workers would be like, I'm wet, I'm muddy, wait. The quote is, you'd be like, why am I on fire? Because the accelerants would actually burn your skin. Yes. So on top of this, there was also other safety violations that were cited, heavy equipment and supplies that would be sliding treacherously or toppling over because of all this sludge and mud. An intern was almost crushed by a collapsing bin of muck.
An intern! He's not even getting paid to get crushed by muck.
Yeah, well, some interns get paid. Let's hope this guy was at least getting a little bit of payment for that.
You know he wasn't.
Some kid from Harvard who's like, I understand that this is cutting edge technology, and I'm going to, oh my God, the sludge!
The sludge.
But it's not just, we're joking, but some people got seriously injured by the chemical sludge.
It's pretty brutal.
It's erosive, right? And
it's
splashing in people's faces.
Yeah.
At least one worker was splashed in the face, yes. I think the report said that over the course of a month, at least 10 to 15 workers were affected by the toxic sludge. And on top of that, there was just equipment falling. There was one piece of machinery that fell down a slope, and the worker only escaped because he didn't have his seatbelt on. And so There have been no reported deaths. That's what we know. A lot of
Thank
close
goodness.
calls, right? OSHA has fined the boring company over $100K for these safety violations. Workers also said there wasn't enough personal protective equipment. They claimed
some of these violations are already confirmed because OSHA has investigated it as finding them.
OSHA. However, the boring company's response has been to contest this and say that OSHA does not have confirmed evidence, despite the literal photos that we've been looking at from these FOIA reports that are coming out. But the boring company, I mean, to give them, I guess, the grain of salt they're due, is saying that these are benefit of the doubt. Thank you. Yeah. What they're saying is that it's unconfirmed. And so I actually called up our state OSHA to ask what the timeline is for the process of, the contestation. And they said that it could take months. It could take a year. There's just no real timeline. So in the meantime, construction continues.
Okay. So, I mean, that is exactly what I want to know. Should we be giving Tesla and the boring company the benefit of the doubt, or has Las Vegas been hoodwinked by this billionaire and his alternative to public transportation?
I think what's alarming to me is that there's just no remediation process or pause on the works while these, what appear to me to, I think, most observers to be very legitimate claims of worker safety violations. So why is there at least no remediation process in the meantime? Why does construction get to continue?
That's a great point. Figler, I know you got some opinions on this. What's going on?
Well, I did go a little bit down the Tesla wormhole, I guess the Tesla worm tunnel. And, it's just nutty buddy. But here's the thing. When this thing was first presented to the greater Las Vegas city and continues to get presented to different municipalities, et cetera, it's made to seem like this is like clean technology. We're just going to go in there with our new super technology that we've developed to make these little holes. And it's like, poof, it goes in, poof, it comes out. And then we're just going to start shooting those things down. And a lot of people, notably Mayor Carolyn Goodman, was like, does this make any sense? Like, it's basically putting taxis underground. We've talked about that a lot on the podcast. But the thing is that LVCVA was all in on this. This is so important for the community, not as a transportation alternative. That's always been garbage, but just as like, Vegas is where shiny, funny, fun things happen all the time. And these tunnels, they kept showing these videos, how cool they are with all the lights and, going through these underground areas in these Teslas and stuff. But do we ever friggin' think about worker safety or what the process would be? Like, do we have any obligation, is my thought, to vet the process to make sure that in pursuit of Vegas spectacular always happening and always moving forward, that we're doing it in a way that is not just thoughtful, but safe? And so were we hoodwinked? I don't know that we even asked the right questions. Like, can you be conned if you don't use your due diligence?
This genuinely feels like we're at a second Gilded Age. Like, this is some like post-industrial revolution shit with a couple billionaires on the top. And it doesn't matter if a couple workers get literally crushed by sludge, because it's all in the name of like commerce and capitalism and all those other things that Eagle Muppet would yell out, And it just seems so ridiculous. And this might shock you guys, but I have not agreed with a lot of things that Mayor Goodman has said in the past, but like,
what?
I like her more every day. She's like practical and honest, and in some ways like positively optimistic. Like, she just has really like said some truths of like, why do we have Tesla tunnels? Why do we want the Oakland A's? Maybe it's just because she's coming to the end of her term. She's just like talking shit. But I am agreeing with this shit talking.
Why do we have COVID restrictions? Why aren't we an open control group?
Those are the ones, the opinions I'm not so hot on. Those are the ones that
kind of
give
zero shits, I feel
you're
like.
You're moving to what city? But I'm enjoying the zero shits given currently. Okay, so a new station at the Westgate is still slated to open sometime in late March. It's been delayed. I think it was supposed to open today. It could be because of this report. They're saying this is normal construction delays. So all that aside, what impact does an investigation like this even have? Has it had any impact so far?
Apparently not.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they are still moving forward with construction. I would bet all of it, like if we could have our bingo card back, that local and state officials are scrambling right now with this reporting coming out and trying to figure out like where it went wrong, why they didn't get on this before the media jumped in. and what they need to do to make sure that those workers are safe. Because if there's deaths down there, I mean, it could be game over.
Yeah.
This has a lot of reflections of something that people will remember from not terribly long ago, back in 2008. When they were building the city center construction site where Aria and Vidara and all those places are. It was a huge problem. State and federal safety inspectors found like dozens and dozens of serious violations. There were 6 workers who died in the construction of City Center. And there was some amazing reporting from, at that time, the Las Vegas Sun. The team was led by a reporter named Alexandra Berzon. They won the Pulitzer Prize that year for their reporting on City Center, and wound up changing a lot of the ways that OSHA did things. But the thing that rings kind of, and, again, fortunately, there's no deaths here, but the thing that seems consistent, and maybe the lesson never learned by Strip City, is that when you have these overwhelming big projects, and at the time, City Center was like the largest commercial project in the country, but they were trying to do it fast. It was a complex project. And the workers at the time, and they were all like proved to be correct, was saying that the company was not doing enough to ensure safe conditions, which seems to me to be in the 21st century a bare minimum. And it's not like this is some sort of abstract concept. This is something that happened right here in Strip City, right here on the Las Vegas Strip. Right. And here we are again, like barely a decade later, and we're once again seeing allegations that a project was going too fast, that it was complex, and that we weren't taking safety serious. And I am not surprised right now that, LVCVA was asked for comment by Bloomberg. They said no comment at the time. They're going to have to come up with something. But, since they were really the champion of this project, there still needs to be some answers. And I think that's the impact, Sarah.
And they're the funders behind this project, too, right? LVCVA paid $50 million for a pair of tunnels less than a mile long, and they're paying the boring company $4 million a year to operate these tunnels. So they've got a pretty chunk of change invested in this project as well.
Yeah, well, everyone, report your unsafe workplace to OSHA. That's OSHA. It is your right. And you know what? I think the Tesla tunnels are stupid. If anyone from the city are boring...
So not worse safety violations? Because sometimes they are, Sarah, right? Aren't they?
No, never were safety violations, and stupid. So anyone that wants to come on and convince me otherwise, you're welcome to. City, boring company, Tesla, Elon Musk himself. We will take you on the podcast because I think this is a dumb idea. David, you are reporting on something in my neck of the woods, huh? Henderson is cracking down on unsafe drivers. What's up?
Well, as anyone who has driven through the streets and freeways of our city knows, it can be quite treacherous out there. Over the last few years, we are clearly seeing very serious traffic collisions, injuries, and fatalities. And sadly, too many of them often involve pedestrians.
Oh, yeah.
There have been statewide campaigns about it. LVMPD Sheriff Kevin McMahill has vocally made road safety a priority. And now, yes, we have this story coming out of Henderson where a blitz of traffic enforcement netted 616 citations being issued in about a 2-week period.
Wow.
For reference, last year during the same time, there were a little more than 200 citations from the same department, so almost a tripling. Now, the biggest violations that they cited people for seems to be speeding. Over half the tickets were for that, though they didn't say just how much over the speed limit people were going. There were also a couple of dozen distracted driver citations, i.e. texting and all that, because, it just can't wait. And the rest were any of the hundreds of potential traffic laws that are on the books. So the Henderson PD says that citation blitzes like this are needed to let drivers know that they have to be more careful, and they link it to what they call, quote, an unacceptable increase in accidents throughout our community.
I mean, word on these Henderson streets is that the city is cracking down on all kinds of code violations. So I guess my question is, with the traffic violations, Sonia, do you think that this is an effective way to make our roads safer, or is just this like optics and a money grab to get some more money in the city kitty?
Okay, so David and I kind of mathed this out yesterday, and we were like, okay, so if the average traffic violation is what? What'd you say, David, $200?
Yeah, it's probably between 100 and 200 because everything went civil, so it's a little more expensive now. These aren't even criminal tickets anymore. These are civil violations.
Okay. All right. So say $200 and there's 600 something, tickets issued or citations issued. That's like $72K. It's not a huge chunk of change for a department that size.
For 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks. Okay. Yeah. $72K for 2 weeks is a lot, but that's maybe like one highway patrol officer's salary. But I think, what we've learned is that anytime you have like an officer-driver interaction on the road, that's an increased opportunity for friction of some kind. And we even saw, I remember not too many months ago when 2 state troopers who pulled over an impaired driver on a highway were actually struck by a different impaired driver on the road and died. So this was out in Las Vegas, not in Henderson. But, just that the act of pulling people over can come fraught with quite a lot of risk. So I'm just curious if there are other ways that we can encourage people to be a little safer. I don't know if we want to go like the full China route where they're like monitoring your car speeds and like giving you like social detriment points or whatever. But maybe there's some other kind of remote way that this could work out.
I mean, at the same time that this story came out, Sheriff McMahill proposed to put red light cameras and speed cameras. So, maybe that's controversial. Does it reduce these law enforcement and driver interaction that you're talking about? Is this another way to encourage safety? What do y'all think?
I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, Sarah. Obviously, there's an issue on the roads and law enforcement being law enforcement saying, well, we need to do more law enforcement things. We need to cite more people, find them, put them in trouble. And that is obviously a piece of the puzzle. We want drivers to be encouraged to be safer. How we do that, is it through punishment? Is it through education? There's a lot of ways, I think. It's a piece of the puzzle. The piece of the puzzle that we don't talk about in these contexts are making the friggin' roads safer. Stop making the roads so huge. Stop allowing for such speeding to occur in these very, 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 very wide roads and the stroads and then the ingress
so
and
like
the
the design. The design of the roads that you're talking
period.
about.
And we've talked about that tons on the podcast. Is like the design needs to be a priority. And then there are also other things that can be done in safety devices, in cars, etc. Now, when you get to this red light camera stuff,
Why is
first
that
of all, it's against the
controversial?
law right now. It's against the law right now. Okay.
Here in Nevada,
Here in Nevada. In 1999, they passed a law that, law enforcement can have monitors on their vehicles. They could have them on government buildings, but not basically at intersections and things like that. It was a bipartisan bill. Law enforcement was there, and they made the same, and safety experts made the same arguments in 1999. They say this is going to, help stop a lot of these traffic issues that are occurring. But the legislators really pushed back hard that there are so many unintended consequences of giving law enforcement so much like remote essentially
Wait, like
AI.
that guy we talked
Eyes.
about last week who was released from prison and then got picked up when a traffic camera ran his license plate? That's kind of along the same lines, isn't it?
No, it wasn't a traffic camera. It was cops who did that.
It was cops who randomly ran his plate.
Yes. Yeah. Or whatever.
So basically, legislators were concerned about the fact that law enforcement would have so many eyes in so many more corners of
eyes in
the
people's
city.
cars. Let's just
Okay.
let's what they're talking about. And, whether it's like, I don't want them to know who I'm driving around with, and neither does my wife need to know who I'm driving around with. But, other things too. It's like there's a Fourth Amendment. There's a right for unreasonable, search and seizure. And part of the concept of that is we don't want the government looking into our shit unless we give them a real reason to. And we don't want that information to be in their hands because who knows what they're going to do with it. And back in 1999, they had tons of examples of where traffic camera information was used for stuff that had nothing to do with traffic. And so it really was, do you trust the government to do it this way? And then there were other examples like it's the car that gets tagged, not necessarily a driver. So if you loaned your car to someone and they get a citation and then the driver gets the ticket, but if the driver didn't see it in their mailbox and they don't contest it, then they're assumed to be the person who did it. And that's like a due process issue. I mean, there were a lot of civil liberties big umbrella concerns about having these traffic cameras, and Sheriff McMahill knows all that. But, he also is the top law enforcement officer, and he wants to keep our streets safe. But again, we're not talking about construction either, are we?
Right.
And the treachery of the construction getting around those cones that seem to be random.
I'm curious, too, if this really is a city that is full of more dangerous drivers. Certainly my insurance cost is very high because there's this assumption that more drivers are inebriated here than in other places. I'm curious to see if that's true. But I will say, having lived in a couple other places and certainly traveled extensively, the vibe, and I'm curious if you agree, of Vegas/Henderson to me is people here tend to have very, very expensive, fancy cars more than I'm used to, and often drive them very, very, very fast. Would you say that that is part of Las Vegas's vibe?
Oh,
Why
yeah.
do we have Lamborghini SUVs? That's what I want to know. I saw one the other day. I was like, this makes no sense to me.
I will say, so when I'm driving in California, I see the traffic cameras and I actually do kind of slow down because I don't want to get caught. I don't want to get that ticket. So I know that it affects my driving behavior personally, but I can also see, I feel like it's a very Nevada perspective to say hey, our privacy is paramount. So I guess this is sort of where that tension plays out on our roads.
No matter what, your view on it is everyone just slow down.
Slow down. So we're going to end on a little bit of foodie news. Las Vegas's beloved Peppermill restaurant has won a big award.
Woo, woo, woo.
Yay! Let me find my article. So you're both familiar with the James Beard Awards, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
We've heard of them.
We've heard of them.
The Oscars of the food world, as they are often dubbed.
Oscars of the food world. And we, of course, frequently host a James Beard Award winner right here on this podcast. That's our contributor, Kim, who wrote the Meth Lunches. But they also do, we associate them with I associate them with food writers or high-end chefs and restaurants. They also do what they call the America's Classic Reward. And they do it regionally. And they define it as locally owned restaurants that serve quality food, have timeless appeal, and reflect the character of their communities. And the
2 out of 3 ain't bad for Peppermill.
reflect the character of the community, 100% sure. Timeless appeal?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You would disagree with the quality food assertion?
Well,
It's a mixed bag. I'm going to say that. I love it.
If we're gonna go down this
I've eaten
road-
more meals there than I should ever have, and I have some favorites on the menu, but I wouldn't put it up there with,
look,
Yeah.
the way I put it is you're just going to get solid run-of-the-mill diner food. And it speaks to an era, and you're not going to come out of there hungry, and you're not going to come out of there dissatisfied. I'm just maybe thinking you're not going there specifically for the food. You're going there for other stuff.
You're not going for food. You're not going for a bargain, but you're going for the experience. And it's amazing. I love the Peppermill. I love the Peppermill.
Go ahead, Sarah.
This is exactly what I want to hear. Because, I have been, and I, of course, went because, I think a lot of Las Vegans seem to feel about the Peppermill. It's one of the few places left on the Strip that feels like it belongs to Las Vegans, right? You may see some tourists there, but it's really spoken about as this more beloved thing for locals. The interior design is absolutely brilliant. The neon is incredible, and it is known for its fire pit in the back. I will say when I went, probably just an unfortunate first visit, but the back did smell like throw up. And so that was unpleasant. And cigarettes.
Cigarettes. Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
It's one of those. And then the front, it was fine. It was a vibe, but it also did feel very like there was a person taking your photo for quote unquote free, but it was but you should tip, and a good tip would be $20, we were told. We knew we were going to pay. It's fine. I had a fine experience. Should I go back?
Yes.
Yeah,
The answer is yes.
it is the finest example of, I call it exotica boom.
Oh,
It's just remarkable in there. Depending on what time of day you go in there, it's a different place. Whether you go to the cafe side or the lounge side with the exotic drinks like the Blue Hawaiians or the Scorpions.
mm-hmm. This is what I mean. There's something I think deeper in nostalgia. And I think that, in a great way, this is what the James Beard Award has tapped into. On the outside, I'm Peppermill seems fine. But you two love it. You love it in the way of someone who has lived here their entire life.
There. I took my younger sister on her 21st birthday for her first cocktail at the Peppermill.
Oh
my gosh.
How the Peppermill is ingrained in Vegas culture. And well, also we ran into one of my clients there who owned the largest at the time string of strip clubs in town, and he called us over, and I'm like, we're not going over there. So it's that place.
I love that the sugar shakers, if you want to put sugar in your coffee, are filled with like multicolored rainbow sugar sprinkles. It's so delightful. And David taught me about an incredible menu item that I have not ordered yet. But David, you should tell our audience to order this menu item.
Okay, so whenever I have, and I used to host like hundreds of literary people coming in town to do shows and stuff. And then afterwards, we would always go to the Peppermill, and I would insist that they order the fruit plate.
The fruit plate?
So the fruit plate's like, I think it's about $300. No, that's an exaggeration. It's hyperbole, but it's very expensive. And it comes out, it's like in a pineapple, and it's just piled like a mile high with whatever fruits are there. I mean, it's kiwi and grapes and all this other stuff. It's just overflowing. It comes out with an entire attendant loaf of banana bread and like a ramekin of marshmallow sauce. It just never ends. It's literally that one serving is your recommended fruit intake for the entire year. It is
and sugar intake, apparently.
Well, I mean, fruit.
It's my recommended marshmallow intake.
I love it. It's so good.
What's really brilliant about this award is that it is hitting on something deeper about like memory and nostalgia and like community love. So congrats to the Peppermill. Like, how fun. But my question for the two of you is, what other Vegas restaurants would you nominate for the America's Classic Award?
Ooh. Okay. So I'm going to suggest, and I know this is controversial, but Bob Taylor's Ranch House, which is just to me speaks to a different era of Vegas when we were a lot more Western, ranchy, open lands. Maybe in a similar vein to the Peppermill, the food is not what I would call top tier, but when you go inside, it's got that like fireplace, the lounge. You kind of feel like you're sitting down with like the slightly sticky
Cowboy
plastic.
Cowboy
chic. They've got the old Western movie posters on the walls. You know, the slightly sticky kind of like plastic covered menus, and it's just really reminiscent of an era.
Do you have a special memory there, Sonia?
Just taking my dad there for prime rib Mondays, where you pay $1 an ounce. You know, that's
Las Vegans love a bargain.
We do.
All right, what about you, David? Old timey David.
So many contenders. You know, a lot of the casino spots probably qualify. Places like Hugo's Cellar, the Circus Steakhouse, places like that. Even the Golden Steer, which is not in a casino, but I'm going to say that. Yeah, it's classic. I would think that our America Classic Award should go to Chicago Joe's. The off-overlooked Chicago Joe's. And Chicago Joe's is just a traditional red sauce Italian spot. It's downtown. It's in a brick house. It's been there forever. The food has gone up and down in quality like the New York roller coaster over the years. I haven't been there for a while, but whenever I go, and I'll go with family or whatever, it's crowded. It's a little old-fashioned in a lot of ways. My mother-in-law really enjoys getting the Chianti wine because it comes with a peach slice in it, which is their tradition. There's so many, the shrimp Diablo. There's all these little things there that just make Chicago Joe's a classic. Even as we are discussing, it isn't per se the top tier food, but it's a great experience.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I gave this some thought, and I have to say that a really good dive bar is what occupies the same place in my heart. So I would nominate the Goldmine Tavern over on Water Street.
Oh, look at you.
It's stuck around. It's stayed through it all. I've already sort of waxed poetic in one of the newsletters about it, but like, I don't drink often, but when I do, it's going to be a bender, and it's going to involve like some heart-to-hearts. We're going to put our hands on each other's shoulders and like, I love you, man. And I've just had some wonderful...
2 fingers of whiskey, and they were probably in the glass before you served it.
Such a good friend, my man. And yeah, it's just a scene, particularly on the weekends. There's great people watching. There's pool in the back. There's a Zoltar to tell your future. And I can walk to it. It just seems like the perfect spot, and I think it's going to be the backdrop for many an outrageous night to come. Well, thank you both for chatting up with me, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Keep on keeping on.
Always. That's all for today here in CityCast Las Vegas. Our producers this week were Sonia Cho Swanson, Layla Muhammad, and Noah Snyderman. Our newsletter editor is Rob Katchelreese, and our hosts are David Figler and me, Sarah Lohman. Music is by OG Moose, Epidemic Sound, and All the Kimonos. We record this show on the traditional homelands of the Nawuvi, the Southern Paiute people. And if you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Take care.
Yay. And is this the part where I burst everyone's bubble that the Peppermill is actually like a Reno outfit that just has an outpost down here?
It's a casino.
It's fine.
Yeah.
We still claim it. We still claim it.
Yeah, it's a different institution.